Morning guys. This is day 2. If you go back to part 1 and part 2 of my texture paste tutorial, this is now part 3, and I'm just going to show you what I ended up doing with the pieces. First 2 pieces were fine. They yeah, I put them on a card base that is the same size as the pieces that I had that I was playing with. So they're 5.5 by 4 inches, and so the base layer is 11 inches by 4, folded in half at 5.5. So those are the 2 pieces that I showed you when I in part 2, where I coloured them with some ink, and I've just layered them up on some foam tape, you know, just regular foam tape. I think I got this from Poundland or something, and it doesn't seem to react with any other papers and cardstock and stuff like that I've used, whereas some of them will, so just be a little careful, especially if you're using any of your tapes, and whether it's foam tape or regular double-sided tape, just be careful that you check whether it's acid free, especially if you're using it with photographs. But for this it's fine. So that's the 2 main pieces. Now I had a third piece that went wrong, and it basically, this is the piece here. I've actually used these now. I'll show you what I did in a minute. But this was the third piece that I had. If you remember, if you haven't watched the other 2 videos, go back and check them out. But I basically covered the texture paste with glitter, and this morning, obviously thinking it was all okay, I went to do something with it, and it all basically fell off. So a little bit of it has stayed in the texture paste, but not a lot. So that obviously didn't work. I'm not sure whether it's worth putting your glitter into a, you know, take a bit of your texture paste, put some glitter into it and mix it before you use it on your stencil, but it definitely didn't work for me. So if anybody's got any ideas on how that works, unless you, I don't know, can you pat it down, but then you don't want to squash the texture paste, so I don't know, it just didn't work. So basically what I did was I took some, got all the glitter off that would come off, because it basically fell off, used some Dusty Concord Distress ink and a baby wipe over the top, and just literally patted it on with the baby wipe. I put the Distress ink onto the mat, like a heat proof mat, or a you know, one of these easy clean up kind of mats. Don't put your baby white straight onto the Distress ink pad, because it will it could damage it. I've never done it, but I wouldn't do that. I would just sort of turn the ink pad upside down, smush it on, that's a technical term, smush it onto the mat, and then you know, use your, sorry, I'm just checking videos are working okay. Just use a baby wipe, and the moisture in the baby wipe will then just move the ink around. So really easy. And then what I did was, as you can see, I die cut them. This is just a little die cut set that I've got that can't tell you too much about the die cut set yet, because it's part of the project that, if you, in one of my other videos, I think I mentioned that I can't really talk about it yet, because it's, you know, Project Hubby. Oh dear. Oh, I've been up since, I don't know, 4:30 or something stupid. So forgive me this morning. Yeah, so I can't explain too much about this just yet, but I will probably share some of that project later on, and so I'll refer to this die set. But basically, any die cut that you want to use, you know, to cut, you know, it seemed to work. It seemed to go through the layers of the cardstock, because this cardstock's a little thicker than normal, and obviously it had the texture paste layer to go through. So I kind of had to go through the die cutting machine a couple of times before it properly cut through. And me being me, I also am impatient, and it was still a bit damp, so that didn't help. But basically I've got these two die cut pieces now that have this cool texture in the background and a little bit of the glitter. Yeah. And I'm basically just going to stick them onto the card, so I thought I'd show you that bit, and then that'll be it. Oh no, I'm not. Beg your pardon. What I'm going to do before I stick them on the card, and there's a reason for this and I will show you in a second. This is just a distress, this is the new round mini distress ink tools. Much better, I think. Not so many lines. Anybody who's used a distress ink tool, the original one, which was kind of like what's the word, rectangular shaped block, it or handle, it sometimes left lines if you weren't used to it, and I'm a bit heavy-handed, so the round works better for me. And then all I've done is I keep them, each of the little sponges, I just label a little bag. I think this is called a beading bag or something. I think I got like 100 of them for 50p or something stupid. And I just labelled the bag, and then I just chuck it in there, and that way it keeps the inky bits away from everything else in my drawers. And then the reason I'm going to ink it, one is because I love distress ink. If you don't know that already, I love it. But if I put this straight on the card, it would look fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't ever think that anything you do in craft is wrong. None of it's wrong. It's all, you know, it's your creativity and your individuality. So don't ever think that anybody, don't let anybody put you down. Whatever you create, that's your masterpiece. But for me, it just doesn't stand out enough. And because there's a word on it, if it was just a plain heart, it'd be fine. But because there's a word written into it, oh, die cut into it, I kind of want that to stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to ink the edges of it and attempt to just make it stand out a bit more. So we'll see what happens, because, you know, best laid plans and all that. So all I'm doing is grabbing some ink, and this is quite a dark colour, so wish me luck. And just gently going over the top of it. It will make the whole thing darker. Obviously my plan changed because I ended up die cutting it rather than using the whole panel on the front of a card. So I'm not worried about you know, going over the entire thing. Look at that. It just brings the edges out, and I think I do want them a bit darker actually, funny enough. Huh. Look at that. Oh, I love distress ink. I love it, I love it, I love it. And yes, you will get covered in ink. Let me do the other one and then I'll show you what it all looks like. Oh, so beautiful. And yes, I talk to myself quite often. I know, sign of madness. Never mind. So even on the words, the actual letters, sorry, I'm trying to get some of it on there so that it's yeah, stands out a little bit more. Right, so I'll just get that out of the way. Where is my trusty, oh actually I'll use this one quickly. This is the one I used earlier. I may as well do my hands. The one I used earlier just to go over the actual, you know, the main panel before I cut it. Right, so I'll just get rid of that. May as well get this out of the way because I don't need that now. I'm going to bring these guys in. Now, one thing is just to make sure that your cards open the right way. If it's anything like me, I have done them upside down, back to front, all that jazz. Oh, let me show you this. So that's what it now looks like. And no two will ever look the same, and that's, to me, that's a good thing, because, you know, it wants to be the same as everybody else. Do you know what I mean? Why have your cards do the same thing? Get some tape. Right, so this is just foam tape. This is exactly, this comes in a pack, just so you know. This is just blocks that have already been pre-cut, that obviously you can cut further, but you can do the same thing to get this. You can do the same thing with a roll, so don't think that if you've got the roll you need this. This is handy if you want to do an entire panel like I've done here, but you can do the same with this. So either or, if it comes in a pack together, great. If not, whatever's your preference, because you can cut this down. Obviously you're limited in size on this one, but and you'd end up using more of this to do, you know, the back of a panel or something. Another tip really for that sort of thing is to use foam, what's it called, fun foam, and just cut a panel slightly smaller than the back of the card base, and that way you can stick the entire panel, entire piece of foam on the back. Obviously you just need to make sure that the whole thing is going to actually, what's the word I'm looking for, that you're going to secure it, you know, enough onto the back, onto the card base. But that works really well as well, so just a preference thing really. And I do use tons of it because I'm always worried that something's going to fall off. Never mind. So look, oh, so much better. Right, so we're opening the right way, and I'm doing exactly the same thing on both cards. I'm not gonna, you know, do anything. Well, one, I'm not doing anything fancy, and two, I'm not trying to think, oh, I need a different card, or, you know, keep it simple, guys. If you're making a billion of these things, you know, especially around like the holidays and that time of year, just make sure that you an easier option is to make a billion of them. You know, have the same design and just make, you know, 4 or 6, I don't know why those numbers work, but 4 seems to work for me, and just make 4 of the same card and keep it really simple for yourself. Otherwise you will land up, well, you may, this is from experience, you may land up getting into a bit of a, you know, bit of a muddle if, you know, if you get into a bit of a muddle with something, then you sort of, I don't know, I start to then worry that I'm, not worry, but like, I'm waffling now. But you might find that you sort of lose your flow, your creative flow. So if you keep things kind of simple, you can always expand on that later on, or you can you know, embellish the card so that it makes it even better than it was, but it, you know, it's still a great card to start with. I know what I'm trying to say, sorry. Hopefully that's coming across in some form. So ta-da. Really, really easy. Yes, the texture paste obviously takes a little bit of time to dry, but because I used embossing powders, like I say, if you go back to the previous 2 videos, you'll see how I did that. And by doing that, it basically dried the, more or less dried the texture paste, although I did leave them overnight before doing the cards this morning. And then these little guys, so these are still a little damp, so I will leave them probably just there until they're completely dry. But there you go, cool, easy, super easy to do cards, and I think they turn out really cool actually. I'm really chuffed. Believe it or not, the one that looks, this one is actually got 2 shades of green on it, and it looks yellow. How weird, but I think it works really well. I'm kind of pleased with them. Anyway, have a great day, guys. This is, like I say, part 3, so go check out the other 2 if you haven't already. Please like and subscribe the videos if you want to see more videos like this. That lets YouTube know that you want to see more from me. So so yeah, have a creative day, everybody.